The following podcast is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Connect, Australia's newest choice for event management and brand development specializing in pro wrestling.
And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The moves.
B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us? Cause we're steady on the ground.
And welcome to the Wrestling Landscape Podcast, the casual wrestling podcast, the informal wrestling podcast. I am your host, Lance Larson, and tonight I am drinking water. My gimmick of having something to drink along with my podcast has been ruined on my first two episodes on the B Plus family. Because last night I originally forgot anything, and then I grabbed some water, and so now I just have water. There's no alcohol in my apartment, and it is far too late to have caffeine, so I'm having water. That said, as this is my second episode on the B Plus Wrestling Network, I am still excited to be here. I am thrilled to be recording this episode, and I'm probably still a little peppier than usual at the start of this thing, because I am so happy to be a part of the B Plus Wrestling Network. That said, we're going to move on. This is probably the last time we'll go on and on about how excited I am to be on the B+, because that shtick has already gotten old. Okay. This is Grapps today. We will be talking all European wrestling. For the first time ever on the wrestling landscape, it will be an all-European episode. I have obviously talked about European wrestling before, but never exclusively on an episode. This was the first time enough had happened, or not had happened, enough had hit tape in a short enough amount of time that it necessitated its own episode instead of just a show or two being part of a miscellaneous episode. But here we are. First, we are going to start in the Czech Republic with the Art of Wrestling Company, who is based out of Prague, and their show from June 2nd called Breakout. So, Art of Wrestling, you know what? I'll talk about it as we go on the episode. My thoughts on AOW. So, listen. I guess I'm starting out with it because of how the undercard was. So, I'm going to be completely honest. The undercard of this show was shit. I watched the first match and a half, and I just skipped to match number 4. Because I knew both those guys in match number 4. I'm like, that match won't suck. So, it was brutal. Like, I don't really skip matches because they're bad. I might skip them because they're not that important or I don't care. Like, very rarely is a match bad enough on a show that I'm already watching that I straight up skip. That's not a time restraint or not important or whatever. That's just bad. This was bad. The Czech scene is in an odd place, because, like, we get to the last 4 matches of the card, which don't suck, by any means, but I think it's exclusively Germans and Hungarians in those last 4 matches. I guess I'd have to look at it as we go along. But the Czech wrestlers themselves aren't the ones at the top of the card. Now, granted, Marcus Mitra wasn't on the show wrestling. He appeared on the show. He wasn't wrestling. And he's probably the top guy in AOW. He had a significant injury earlier in the year, or at least a injury that kept them out of their title tournament, which completely ruined my prediction for that. I really thought Mitra would win that, because he's very, very good. But I don't know what that says about the Czech scene, that, like, you get to the last 4 matches, and either most or all of these guys are Hungarians or Germans, and so the Czech wrestlers themselves aren't really shining. Now, that doesn't mean they can't grow. that doesn't mean this is a good opportunity for the Czech wrestlers to learn from wrestlers from Germany and Hungary that may have more experience, that have more reps, that they can improve on. Especially Germany, because Germany has a much stronger circuit and indie scene than the Czech Republic or Hungary does. So hopefully this is just a time thing. Because honestly, what a lot of these workers needed was just more reps and probably a bit of better coaching. I'm not going to shit on anyone for not trying. That's certainly not it. But the indie scene in Eastern Europe isn't exactly iconic. Because you even get elsewhere on that part of the world, and IWF in Russia, based out of Moscow, they're really not anything special either. So the closest good scene, or maybe I should say above average scene, because Germany's like a really deep scene. There's work there. That's the closest one. Hungary, HCW, based out of Budapest, is a good company and puts on some good matches, but a lot of their workers too could use some more reps and some more matches in front of different crowds. And I just really feel like a lot of the Czech guys could use that. And maybe, just maybe, a couple seminars with Quackenbush and Storm. So, I hope that the Czech wrestlers on AOW utilize the internationals coming in. And I'd like to see Czech wrestling have a grassroots growth and see the local guys and gals and non-binary folks grow and, be able to be on the level as their neighbors. But where it is right now is certainly not there. Now, for AOW as a company, they do bring in lots of talented folks. So, the shows do have interesting matches, especially towards the end. But sometimes the preliminaries and undercards are a little tough to get through. And I don't know exactly what that means for Czech wrestling for the future. I hope there's growth. I hope there's change. Because I want wrestling to be strong in as many places as possible. But for where it is right now, it's really more about bringing in the internationals. So, with that said, let's move on to the last 4 matches. We had Bad Bones, John Klinger, defeating Baldo Brown. This match was fine. It was solid. The crowd liked it. They did not love it. This show was from June the 2nd. I don't know if I said that. I like to date my shows as much as I can. There was I wrote this down when I was watching it. This match was a lot cleaner than the previous matches. Not in the sense of, not a dusty finish, but in the sense of the work. That it was smoother, it was crisper. And so I'm sure I was just happy to have a match that looked like a pro wrestling match. So, these guys were fine. Nothing special. Baldo Brown, if you haven't heard of him, he is a Hungarian wrestler who wrestles for HCW, Hungarian Championship Wrestling out of Budapest. He is someone who you may want to keep an eye on as continental European wrestling grows. He could have a strong future in that scene because I think he's very good. But again, a lot of these folks in that part of the continent, I say this part of the continent. I've never been to Europe. In that part of the continent, on that eastern side, don't have as much access to the deep indie circuit that other folks do. Because, if you're in Germany, first of all, Germany has a strong indie circuit, like I've said 3 times now. And if you're west of Germany in Europe, the UK is really not that far. And that's obviously and clearly the deepest, strongest, most consistent indie pool in Europe. Especially with Ireland right there, too, to the UK. So, a lot of folks can get work there. You've seen, A-Kid and Carlos Romo from Spain get plenty of work there. And a lot of Germans as well. But in this part of the world, just a little tougher, I guess. So, I would like to see more Eastern Europeans get to the UK, even if it's just for nothing but practice. Moving on to the next match. We had George Kukaz defeating Fast Time Mudo. Forgive me on any of these mispronunciations. I'm just a dumb American. I only speak English, so I apologize for any and all mispronunciations of any names. So I thought this was a nice little match and was a pleasant bright spot so far on the card. These two had a nice little outing. Fast Time Mudo lived up to the name. Kukaz was the bigger opponent here, and they had good psychology, some good action. Obviously, things could have been a little crisper. They usually can, unless it's like Okada and Ishii in there. So this was a good little match, and probably my favorite so far to this point, until the next match happened, which was the Budapest Bastards defeating Justin Wilde and Petter Tihani. So the Budapest Bastards have gotten work in the UK, I know. And so they are obviously pretty talented. Justin Wilde, if you've never heard of him, he is someone I would definitely keep an eye on. He is a young, handsome heel who plays a really good prick. And I think he's someone who, what he needs to do to get into a more consistent indie circuit, he should do. Because I really think he might have some strong potential in the future. He's very talented. He's young enough where he has plenty of time to grow ahead of him. He's the right look. I think he's really talented. So, Justin Wilde, here's to you, bud. Anyway, these four had a good match. This was the match of the night by far, according to me. Very creative, very well laid out. Lots of high spots. This is a match, that would have gotten over in London or any city in the U.S. at any indie show in the U.S., maybe I should say. So it would have fit really well there. I really liked it, obviously. Oh, totally lost my spots in the notes. Oh, there we go. So it was kind of sloppy. There really wasn't a match on the show that I would say, oh, this was a crisp, clean match. Even the main event, which we'll get to. Even though both those guys in the main event are good. But here in the semi-main, there was lots of double team moves, lots of striking counters. Like I said, it would get over well in a UK or US indie scene. The Hungarians, the Budapest Bastards here, are very close to a breakout. Pun intended with the name of the show, AOW Breakout. So, and by the Hungarians, I do think I'd include all four of these guys, not just the Budapest Bastards, because all four of these guys are Hungarian. Or at least most prominent on the Hungarian scene. They might be Croatian or something. I didn't look up everyone's nationality. But really good tag match. I really liked it. There's obviously some talent there, and I want them to keep going to AOW in the Czech Republic to help grow that scene, to help grow this company, because I think that's important. I want AOW to succeed, but I also want these wrestlers to succeed, and so I would like to get them, or I see them get some more international experience, some more reps, some more matches, some more practice, improve their game. And they can help AOW even more then. So, I really wish, because Europe, land-wise, really isn't even that big. Like, all of Europe can fit in Australia, I think. I think I saw a map once that compared that. I hope I'm not wrong. So, and there's a lot more, cities in between cities in Europe. Whereas, down in Australia, it seems like all of the major cities are just on the coast. Not a ton of stuff inland. So, also, forgive me of any ignorance I have of Australian geography. That's how it appears to me. So if I am wrong, I apologize. But with Europe, back to the point I'm trying to get to. I would love if there was a European Union version of European wrestling, European indie wrestling. And all these different companies from all these different countries just are on really good terms with all the other promoters, constantly trading talent. Everyone's just traveling up and down the continent. Or I guess left to right on the continent, it's more horizontal. And getting experience, working with everyone. Now, how exactly that would work, or the details of that, obviously would far extend probably anyone's means that's running promotions over there. So it's obviously, that's more of a pipe dream than anything. But I think that'd be so cool, it'd be so good for the scene. Because some of these guys really do have raw talent, they just need experience and exposure. Anyway, man, this reviewing of the show is becoming way more about the Czech Republic scene and the European scene in general. But I guess that makes sense. This is the Wrestling Landscape Podcast. We like looking at landscapes. I'm not talking about paintings. In the main event, we had Icarus retaining his AOW title over Lucky Kid. This was a really solid match. Really hot at times with the crowd. Not great. And one of the things I noticed that I wrote down here, the close camera angles on the show, because a lot of the camera angles were from right outside the ring, right on the apron. And because you were so close to the action, it was way easier to see some of the sloppiness So maybe that's why I'm a little more critical of the work than I am on, maybe some other shows that don't have as great as work. Because the cameras are so close, you see everything. So, I don't know how much that contributed or whatever. But this match, again, kind of sloppy. Not excellent. I still enjoyed it. Not as good as the semi-main, in my opinion. So, yeah, that is a very brief review of AOW Breakout. I do not watch every show from AOW, but I do like to poke my head in there every now and then, like I do with HCW, and just kind of see where they're at. Because I like to keep an eye on these scenes. I'd like to see them grow. And if they do grow, I'd like to be aware of it right away. So, AOW, probably not good enough to bring me back for their next show, but maybe 2-3 shows down the road, go ahead and poke my head in again, see where they're at. Anyway, we're going to move on to a show I had a blast watching. OTT WrestleRama III. Okay. I very rarely go over every match when I review a show. Just kind of in general. If it's like a 6-match card, yeah, I'm going to go over every match. But once you're hitting 8-9 matches, I'm probably skipping 1 or 2. I am, again, probably not going to go over every match. I'm going to mention every result. But every match on the show, I at the very least enjoyed. This was, in my opinion, an absolute blast to watch. I loved it. I had a lot of fun. So, opening, we had Puma King defeating Justy in a comedy match, which the commentators really helped get over the comedy. Really fun. Puma King did tons of fun, cool spots as well, in addition to the comedy. So it made it, funny and a spectacle. So it was just a win-win all around. Really, really enjoyed it. Puma King gets the win, obviously. Which, makes sense. Like, obviously Justy's going to be far more regular than Puma King. But it's a comedy match. No sense to have, the bigger star lose here. It's not like it would give your Justy guy any more oomph. Oh, that'd be kind of a funny gimmick. Where this guy who's like a comedy guy, and who's kayfabe not that good, but gets wins over international stars. That'd be kind of funny. I don't know how many stars would go for that, but moving on. We had CT Flexer and Valkyrie against Raven Creed and a mystery partner, and that mystery partner was Jimmy motherfucking Havoc. So, that surprise was adored by the crowd. Popped big for him. This was a super fun match with lots of good psychology, decent work. It wasn't necessarily about the work, though. It was just kind of the aura of Creed and Havoc and the heel tactics of Flexer and Valkyrie. Flexer's nickname, by the way, is the Woke Bloke. And the way he worked that, I thought was very interesting and kind of funny. So, really good match. Highly recommend this. They did not do the stupid WWE thing where it's like men on men and women on women for mixed tag matches. Everyone wrestled everyone, which makes sense because they're all wrestlers. Anyway, I'm not going to get on that soapbox now. But really enjoyed this match. Lots of fun. Crowd was super into it. Some cool spots. And the baby faces go over. So fun all around. I had never seen Valkyrie wrestle before. She is the women's champion there. And it's one of those things where, I feel like I've seen her wrestle on an undercard once or twice somewhere. But I'd never seen her, wrestle in a prominent role before. And I was really, really impressed with her, actually, with her selling and with her work. So, she's someone that wasn't on my radar before, that is now. So that's also fun, poking my head in on some of these companies. Next, we had More Than Hype, which is that Irish 3-man team, defeating Session Moth Martina, Angel Cruz, and Be Cool. This was a fun match, kind of sloppy, but, it was much more about the comedy than the work, so it's not like that really hurt it. It was a still enjoyable match. Next, we had Scotty Davis over Darby Allin. Darby Allin looked really, really good in this match. I really liked him here, and it made me really excited for his match, because I watched this before I watched Fyter Fest. And so it made me really excited for his Cody match. This was a great match. Tons of action. Both guys are as athletic as fuck. So it was fun to see some of the cool spots they were doing, some of the counters they were doing. I would really recommend this match. If you can, go ahead and watch this match. OTT has an on-demand service. This was really, really fun. It's honestly 2 smaller folks just like doing really cool shit. And Scotty Davis is like the heir of Irish wrestling. He seems to be if Jordan Devlin is the ace, Scotty Davis is the future ace. He is the prince in waiting, if you will. So he got the win here over the big international star, Darby Allin. And Davis, in his own right, is very, very good. And is dubbed as the future ace of Irish wrestling for a reason. He is excellent. Next, we are moving on to Bandito versus Roy Horace. You hear those two names, and you're like, oh, that sounds good. And it was. This was really good. I really liked this match. Awesome, cool, crisp lucha action. Not necessarily a lucha-style match, but tons of spots that you would typically see in a lucha match. The crowd and the wrestlers and the ref pulled a gag of like counting in Spanish because the ref like couldn't count in Spanish. So like the wrestlers would like help him out and the crowd would count in Spanish too, like on pinfalls or for countouts when they're out of the ring. It was really funny. And so like you're seeing all these really cool athletic moves at the same time there's like Spanish jokes and the wrestlers being funny. And this was just a super enjoyable match. So yeah, you like go into watching this match or this whole show rather, like you would almost going into a PWA match where you're expecting good matches but also lots of comedy interwoven throughout the night. OTT and PWA might be my two favorite indie companies. PWG's technically up there, I guess, but I really only watch their Bola shows every year because I don't want to spend $20-$30 on a DVD every month because they don't have an on-demand service. So yeah, I guess I can't really include PWG up there if I only watch their Bola every year. So yeah, I'll say OTT and PWA are my two favorite indie companies out there.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This month we are sponsored by Grapple, a fantastic new wrestling app available on iOS and Google Play completely for free, where you can rate all the matches that you watch in WWE, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all across the world, and we are even getting Australian wrestling involved in the Grapple app rating system as well, starting with PWA Pro Wrestling Australia. Their Green Label event from the other week is up there. The Black Label event, All Eyes on Troy, is up there. And the last 2 years of events, at least, are up on Grapple right now for you to rate so that people can get around our Aussie wrestling and see that we are just as good as anywhere else in the world. Basically, Grapple is a Rotten Tomatoes for wrestling. Now we all get a say. It is the democratization of match rating systems for pro wrestling. It's amazing. So I get a say, you get a say. You can follow me on there at Greg Unchained. You can follow Big Boy Mikey at B+_Big Boy. At Mr. Mysterious is on there. At Danders is on there. At Jay is on there. We're all on there rating the matches that we watch. So follow us. We'll follow you back. Let's build this community and get as many Australian wrestling fans onto the Grapple app as we can. You can download it right now. It has over 30,000 matches on there going back to 1985, 15 promotions around the world. There's so much to do on the Grapple app. It's a great little community, so get around it. It's Grapple, GRAPPL.co, and it's for free on App Store and Google Play. Get around it. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, Outbreak Nutrition. Outbreak Nutrition are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at Outbreak Nutrition. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OutbreakNutrition.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OutbreakNutrition.com, enter the code B+ at checkout. Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Grapps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today.
Moving on. Great match. Please, if you can, please go watch this match. It was so much fun. Next, we had Mark Haskins defeating... Bandito beat Ray Horse. I don't know if I said that. Bandito won with a 21 plex. Also, speaking of Bandito, okay, on this same show, we had wrestlers contracted with the WWE, Ring of Honor, AEW, and AAA. It was fascinating. I think Puma King signed with AAA. I don't think he just works for him, does he? I guess he might. I'm not as up to date on the Lucha contracts as he should be. But he at least works regularly with AAA. So having all of those, complex situations on one show is fascinating to me, that OTT, can be in that position. I've heard other people talk about how they're kind of, playing all sides to this. And I think there were some Voices of Wrestling guys talking about that once, many, many months ago. And it definitely showed it here. Because next we had Mark Haskins, who is a Ring of Honor signed talent, defeating Terry Thatcher to retain the gender-neutral title. This was kind of a grudge match, and this match was good. It was certainly a solid match. But with how much fun I was having with the previous matches, it just kind of felt too out of... it didn't connect with me as it should. I thought the heat segment was too long. I thought it was too much offense for Haskins, who ended up getting the win. Because it just looked a little too dominating, especially when Thatcher was the babyface who was coming for Haskins' title. And Thatcher felt wronged by Haskins. So it's I don't know, how does that make your babyface look? It felt weird to me. It was still a good match, but, didn't work for me. I guess I don't know any other words to put that in. Next, we had The Rapture defeating Club Tropicana. So this was a 6-man tag comedy match. Everyone was over as fuck. Jesus Christ. So fun. If the crowd is into everything the wrestlers are doing, it honestly almost doesn't even matter what you think about the wrestlers or the match itself. It instantly makes it infinitely more enjoyable. So this was tons of fun just because of that. But on top of that, the wrestlers are talented and were able to get the comedy over in a really fun way. Next, in this semi-main, we had Jordan Devlin defeating Sean Guinness to retain the OTT World title. So, if you have a title... I'm not a big fan of a non-title match in the main event, and that's for a very particular reason. For this show, it's a good thing they did not have this match as the main event, because the main event was much, much better than this, and this would have been a flat ending to the show. Because this was a good match, there was good work, but honestly, it was pretty slow, which is fine. Obviously, there are really good slow matches out there. I think Omega Tanahashi from the Tokyo Dome this year was a really slow match, and that's probably still my match of the year. Oh, I'd have to sit down and think about that. I'm not sure. It's one of my matches of the year. So I'm fine with slow matches, but this one was just kind of plodding. The crowd was temperate. I don't know how often I use the adjective, but the crowd was very mild for it. So it didn't feel like it connected with them too much either. Could have just been the length of the show, because this wasn't exactly a short show. And on top of that, Jordan Devlin wins with a jackknife pin, so it's like he caught him. It's not even like he necessarily beat him. So it was like this, and it was probably too long, to be completely honest. It's like this really long match that was pretty slow, that has a clean finish, but it doesn't feel as definitive as a submission or a clean pin. Or like a big move and then like a lateral press pin, not just like a jackknife roll up, just because you caught him, not because you beat him. So it didn't land with me. I love Jordan Devlin, and the work was good. Both these guys are obviously good workers. Very tight, very athletic, variety of holds, but didn't connect with me. In the main event, we had Walter versus David Starr. This was a very emotional match. So the story going into this was that leading up to this match, David Starr was 0-25 against Walter. He had never beaten him. So obviously it's David Starr doing everything he can to get the win over Walter. He's mainly going after his legs, using a bunch of leg kicks to try to chop him down, like Travis Banks did at the NXT UK taping recently. Starr tried to get Walter disqualified by throwing Walter's NXT UK title in his arms and then falling down like he'd hit him. And when the ref turned his back, the ref called the DQ on Walter. So it seemed for a moment like Starr had finally beaten Walter, but it was still only via DQ. So the ref called the match, but then Jordan Devlin, Starr's former best friend turned bitter enemy, because that story's never happened in pro wrestling. I see that like, I didn't like it. I love the David Starr Jordan Devlin story in OTT. Anyway, Devlin came out. He's like, no, ref, no. That's not what happened. So the ref overturned his decision due to Devlin's word, which, I don't know if that's fair officiating, but it's what happened. Particularly where if Starr won, he would get a title shot at Devlin. I forgot to say that stipulation. So they got it overturned. Starr attacked I'm sorry. That's later. Walter does end up getting the clean win. Walter. Did I say Starr? I don't know what I said. Walter does end up getting the clean win over David Starr after that, pinning him with a powerbomb, I believe. I didn't write it down, but I believe it was a powerbomb. So David Starr moves to 0-26 against Walter. David Starr was obviously distraught afterwards. He attacked the ref afterwards because of the overturned decision. And it looks like this David Starr, Jordan Devlin feud is far from over, which is very exciting. I would expect them to have some kind of stipulation blow-off. But Devlin's still the champ, and it doesn't seem like he's willing to give Starr a title chance. So we'll have to see if it'll be a non-title thing, if it'll be like a loser leaves OTT thing, or if Devlin will lose the title, or if maybe Starr will win a no more something. But this is far from over. I do expect a blow-off. Maybe what they would need is a triple threat, like elimination style blow-off with Devlin, Starr, and Walter. Because the angle has been involving those three. That's been going on for probably like a year now, right? Yeah, I would think so. Maybe not quite that long. No, yeah, I think it is that long. Either way, a long time. So maybe that would be the best way to blow everything off. Just like some kind of stip elimination triangle match with those three. Yeah. Anyway, that was OTT WrestleRama. Real thumbs up show. Really enjoyed myself watching it. Tons of fun. Okay. Moving on to the last show we are going to review here. We have Pro Wrestling Eve WrestleQueendom 2, which took place on Sunday, June 30th. Another thumbs up show from me. Again, I'll at least list the finisher of every match, but there might be some matches I only say a sentence about. Like the opener, where we had you defeating Nightshade. It was fine. The crowd had fun. Nothing special about it, but it was a decent opener. It's an opener. They're not trying to, it went under 10 minutes. They're not going out there trying to have a 4.5-star match. So it's, they did exactly what they needed to do. You won. Crowd loved it. It was fun. In the second match, we had Mayu Iwatani and Kagetsu. This was a Stardom feature match, a showcase match. Iwatani and Kagetsu went to a 15-minute draw. This match was fucking great. Both of these two are excellent workers. Mayu Iwatani has the best Northern Lights suplex and bridge in the business. Goddamn. And to think she was Ring of Honor's women's champion, and they fucking squandered her. I'm not going to go on that Ring of Honor rant right now. I'm not going to do that, because this is a European wrestling episode, but fuck. Anyway. Both of these are very good. Excellent match, tons of cool action. A draw finish, like I said. Commentary played it up like things are not done between these two, Kagetsu and Iwatani. I wonder if that blow-off / follow-up will happen in Stardom, or in Eve, or both. So I will have to keep a close eye on that, because they had a great match here. And another thing, so like when there's a draw, you know, and they do a rematch, I feel very strongly, unless there's a very good reason, like it's a stip match, I feel very strongly that the rematch needs to go longer than what the draw was. Like, just in my head, that's the only thing that makes psychological sense. So like if you do a 20-minute draw, then the next match is like a cage match, or like a last man standing match, or a ladder match, or something like that. Obviously, the rules are different, everything's changed, you go whatever time you need to go. But if you're just doing like a regular rematch with just a longer time limit, it has to go longer than the previous match. I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels that way. But this was good. Really, really enjoyed the action in this match. And the match after this was kick-ass too. Like, after these first few matches, I was so high on the show. And then we'll get to it. Nothing was straight up bad on this show, but there certainly were some negatives. Next, we had Laura DiMatteo and Jordynne Grace in a fucking banger. This match was so great. This was so good. This was awesome. It was very creative, I thought, with some of their counters. It was brutal in some senses, because Jordynne Grace fucking powerbombed Laura DiMatteo on the edge of the ring, Kevin Owens style. And she gave DiMatteo a vicious-looking Michinoku driver that was very high on the shoulders, i.e. on the neck, almost. Really good psychology, because Jordynne Grace overpowered DiMatteo, so they worked around that. Everything was crisp. All the work was tight. DiMatteo went for her finishing submission 2 times before the match, couldn't quite get it, because Jordynne Grace is too strong. Finally locked it in. And it was one of those, like it's like an octopus but on the ground. Like Jordynne Grace is on her stomach and then DiMatteo almost does an octopus to her. I have no idea what that hold's called. I feel so dumb for not knowing it. But that's what she went for twice, couldn't get it. Got it on the 3rd time. Got Grace to tap out. This was such a good match. And Jordynne Grace is an excellent, excellent pro wrestler. In like all these facets. Her work is tight. Her facials are good in this match. She knows her character. She's good psychology. This was a very, very good match. And Jordynne Grace is a very, very good pro wrestler. Again, not going to go on an Impact rant, but she is signed for a multiple-year contract to Impact Wrestling. Why she is not more featured blows my fucking mind. Anyway, such a good match. So after these 3 matches, I'm like, oh my god, this is going to be a killer show. And it was a good show. But now we get into a couple negatives. We had Jetta and Aaron Angel winning the first ever Pro Wrestling Eve Tag Championships in a triple threat tag team match, defeating Mercedes Blaze and Jenny, and a 3rd team of Millie McKenzie and Charlie Evans, aka Medusa Complex. So, there were some fun spots. I thought it was creatively and well put together. In terms of the action, I thought it was what you want out of a triangle tag team match, you know, with tons of cool stuff and things like that. Shenanigans, people getting involved, that kind of stuff. But it was not terribly smooth in the work. It was kind of sloppy. And that always takes me out of it. Even if it's well laid out, even if they have good moves planned. If they're not performed well, it always, I don't want to say always, usually takes me out of it and lowers it down quite a big peg for me. So, a lot of positives to this match. But some of the work was not great and honestly kind of distracting. So, but congrats to Jetta and Aaron Angel, becoming the first ever Pro Wrestling Eve Tag Team Champions. Next, we had Session Goth Martina, you heard that right, losing to Su Yung in an undeath match. You heard that right. Try explaining that to a non-wrestling fan, why this match is called an undeath match. Anyway, these two did a lot of stuff in this match. But again, a lot of it didn't look great. So it's like, I liked what they were doing, just not how they were executing it. Just a lot of the spots didn't look good. And the crowd was kind of into it. And emphasis on the kinda. They were mild, but certainly not dead. So I also think this one went a little too long as well. So I don't think it accomplished what it wanted to accomplish in terms of crowd reaction. So it fell flat that way. Next, we had Arisha Yoshiki, which is how they pronounced her last name. I am so bad at pronouncing names, apparently. Because I've been saying Yoshiki, and apparently that's wrong. So it's Arisa Yoshiki, retaining the Wonder of Stardom Championship, which is their white belt, the secondary title in World Wonder Stardom. She defeated Little Miss Roxy to retain. This was overall a good match. It was well put together. Some really cool and really good looking spots. Arisa is excellent in her offense, particularly in her strikes. I liked a lot of her kicks in this match. I think, again, shouting out Alex Cyber Squad on Twitter. I think he posted a thread of Arisa just kicking people's heads off on Twitter, so you should go check that out. But again, Little Miss Roxy, there was 2 botches in a row, and it was like there was a big lull in between the spots, so it felt really long. So there was like a 30-second period where this match felt really awkward, where Roxy went for a scorpion kick, and it just straight up missed, and Arisa's still selling, even though she missed, and they're like trying to regroup, and then she goes for a sunset flip to powerbomb Arisa into the turnbuckle, but she misjudged the distance, I guess, and Arisa fell short, and it looked bad, and the whole thing was just awkward, and there was like a 20-second lull in between those 2 botched spots, so like that felt really awkward and really took me out of the match. And even besides that, the work was good, not great, from Roxy especially in the match. So it's one of those things where it's like I want to give it a thumbs up because I liked a lot of it, but I feel like I can't because the bad in it was bad enough that it took me out of it. So thumbs middle for me on that match. Moving right along, we had a triple threat elimination match, ECW style. A 3-way dance, if you will. For Eve's International Championship, Utami from Stardom. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name because I suck at it. Completely mispronounced it on my last episode. She came in as the champion. Jamie Hayter and Nina Samuels were the other 2 competitors in this. Utami was the first person pinned in this 3-way elimination match. So right off the bat, and commentary said this as well, you knew there was going to be a new champion. I say right off the bat, it was, a good chunk into the match before Utami was eliminated. They didn't bury her or anything. So you knew there was a new champion, so you're already kind of on the edge of your seat. Jamie Hayter and Nina Samuels had a bit of a grudge going into the match, so it played into that. Really well worked. Liked all the things. I'm usually not a big Nina Samuels fan, but she looks good in this match. I don't know if that was Hayter and Utami, I don't want to say carrying, that's too strong of a word, but helping her along maybe to have a cleaner match than she usually does. But maybe she just doesn't work well in the WWE system, because most of the stuff I haven't liked of hers was in NXT UK, although I am remembering some stuff of hers I don't like in progress. We'll see. Maybe she's improving, because this show happened more recently than the NXT UK taping. So maybe I'll tell myself that she's improving. We'll go with that. But then Hayter pinned Samuels. Hayter actually pinned both wrestlers in this 3-person elimination match. So she got a very strong win. And again, this match had good 3-person psychology when there were 3 wrestlers in it. Not always just a take your turn kind of wrestling match, like Greg mentioned on our Stomping Grounds review from however long ago that was. In the main event, we had Kaylee Ray defending her Eve Championship against Viper. For both of them, this was their last match in Eve, so they really played it up as such. I would assume the reason why it's their last match in Eve is because of NXT UK, which makes you wonder about what their NXT UK contracts are and what they say, and if they limit their talent maybe a little more than they initially promised. Don't want to say too much more about that. I don't have any inside scoops. I'm not going to say my opinions anymore on that. Trust me, I have basically 0 contacts in the business, so I will never, ever have an inside scoop. Any kind of news I pass along would be other people's news that they have reported. So, no context in the business. Anyway, both of these women are such good professional wrestlers. Like, damn. I'm watching this match, and they are doing these things so smoothly. Everything looks so good. It's so great. They are so good at what they do. Both Viper and Kaylee Ray are fan-fucking-tastic wrestlers. Like, everything looks good. They're building their match well. They're saving a lot of their spots for later in the match. So this was a good match. They took a couple minutes in the middle of it to, like, do a gag with a water bottle, and that, you know, if you're going, like, match rating, that, like, lowered the match rating for me. But everything besides that was really good, so take that for what it is. I don't know if it would hurt for anyone. So really, really good match. Viper defeated Kaylee Ray to win the Pro Wrestling Eve title. Immediately after, the matchmaker of Eve, Rhea O'Reilly, came out and was like, alright guys, hey, thanks for everything you've done for Pro Wrestling Eve. We have a little video package for you to celebrate you going out. So they played a video package, and while Viper and Kaylee Ray are watching the screens, Nightshade and Livy Grace come out and attack Kaylee Ray and Viper. Rhea O'Reilly says, LOL, JK, and since I'm the matchmaker, I get to make the matches. So now, Viper, you and I are going to have a match for the Eve title right after you've had a banger of a main event. So Rhea O'Reilly heals her way into the Eve title, which makes sense. Viper had to go out on her back as well, as is pro wrestling tradition, and it's not like she could leave with their Eve World title. So that's what happened. That's what they got it off her. That's the angle they ran to do that. Certainly got heat in the building, so from that sense it worked. An overall thumbs up show. Good match, good segment. It's one of those things like, obviously you're going to boo in the building because two people you love are getting healed on their way out. But it's not like, you know, you understand they have to lose. It's their last night. Viper can't just leave the company with the world title. That's not the best way to do business. So, made sense. Got heat in the building, so it works from that angle. But yeah, overall thumbs up show from Pro Wrestling Eve on their WrestleQueendom 2 show. Highly, highly recommend it to anyone. And on that note, folks, I will bid you adieu. Thank you so much for listening to Wrestling Landscape Podcast on the B Plus Wrestling Podcast Network. Thank you for listening.